Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakaha, Kwadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than never. All right, the would-be judges, the 144,000, 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel, which are the tabernacle of David, as stated in the Bible, all right, who are to rule in the kingdom of heaven, clarifying that heaven will be here on earth, as it also says in the Bible, right? I saw a new Jerusalem, a new heaven coming down, all right, and it will be ruled over by men, Ezekiel 34:31, all right? The Lord is going to set up the 144,000 and make them immortals, and they will be the rulers of all mankind forever and ever, when the scripture of the Lord's Prayer is fulfilled on earth as it is in heaven. All right. And to the rest of the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, among the heathen nations that have the appearance of the heathen nations. This is not a black only thing. All right, and to the few Aqua that are listening and learning, to you I say shalom. All right, this is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth. And I have some videos lined up that I want to speak upon. And I have a ton of books that have ancient artifacts like these, like the one on the screen here, that they just dug up. This is the most recent Egyptian find. And this is of a pharaoh, a king in Egypt that predates Alexander of Macedonia, predates the Ptolemy period, when the Edomites came in and took over that port, North Africa, and when they took over Mesopotamia, what they fraudulently and falsely call the Middle East right now, okay, which is Western Asia. You know, that's another lie that they told. There's only 6 continents. Europe, the portion of Asia that they call Europe, is not a continent within itself. It's on the continent of Asia. All right, and I will provide the receipts for that for anyone who might be new, who might be watching. And Esau Edom has lied so much about history, and now Trump is making another bold move. He's taking over the Smithsonian, and he wants to get rid of artifacts, and to make history match the false narratives that they're teaching in school. So they're being blatantly racist, blatantly disrespecting the Constitution. Trump is doing all these things, all right, because racial backgrounds of the people who make up the nations of America is all a part of its history. You can't just go erasing it. And but that's what Esau Edom is trying to do, because he's trying to establish, what I've been calling MAWA, Make America White Again, all right? Or Make America just white. It shouldn't even be again, because America was never really white, okay? There's no such thing as white people. They made that up. That's a social construct that they made up. But before I play this very this piece of evidence that completely destroys the Hametic theory and all the it completely destroys Darwinism. It completely destroys white superiority. It completely destroys Johan Blumenbach. All that is annihilated with this one dig, because it's dug up in this day and age, and they weren't able, like in the early 1900s, late 1800s, chip away and knock all the noses and the lips off, and then, make a movie and present this same king as a so-called white person. Esau Edom is through. He's exposed. I'm drinking some tea, so Salakia. The same way that Amalek's nationality, his claim to the Holy Land, is being questioned by everyone now. All right, so the evidence is overwhelming against him as well. But I'm going to read this scripture here to set this off. This is Psalms 58:3, and it said, "The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they are born, speaking lies. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth the ear." So when you basically would tell them, people would laugh at them and completely come against their the lie that the Egyptians were so-called white people, because there was a time frame. You have to understand, there was a time frame when Edomites, Caucasians, all right, had taken over Egypt. That's why the capital city is named Alexandria, all right, and they became the new people, same way they took over the portion of Asia that they call Europe, all right. It pretty much happened at the same time. And let's go to the scripture. Let's go to the Maccabees. This is First Maccabees 1:1, and it reads, "And it happened that after Alexander the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius the king of the Persian Medes." So these Edomites, these pale men, had smitten these brown men, these chocolate men, because the Persian Medes were just as dark as this brown man on the screen, who they will call black, right? His hat is black. I'm glad he's wearing a black hat. You can clearly see that his skin is not black. There is no such thing as black people, and I'm just disgustingly tired of our own people still referring to themselves as that. With all the evidence, you're physically and visibly brown. I don't know how many times we got to show you the evidence and the definitions and the meaning of the word black. There's a reason why they started calling yourself. You didn't call yourself that when you came here. Neither did you call yourself an African American. All right, Africa is named after Scipio Africanus, a so-called white man, and America is named after Amerigo Vespucci, another so-called white man. So you call yourselves today after the names of two so-called white men, which is utterly retardation. All right. Looking at this man's skin, his skin is brown, and he's a medium brown. His hat is black. He is nowhere near that color. All right. So once again, remember, the word black is negative, and if you put the word black before something, you make it negative. So like the Black Knight, the Black Death, the Black Heart. And then then some of the meanings of black: ugly, dirty, untrustworthy, violent. And so you allow them to call you black people. When are you people gonna wake up, man? All right. So, but nevertheless, when when you tell Esau, when you tell the truth, they stop up their ears. So we just let the scripture speak. So Salaki, I kind of went off on a tantrum there, but it says. So once again, they took over Alexander, the Edomites, the pale people. The Persian and the Medes were brown-skinned people, just as brown as this man on the screen. All right, some even darker back then. And it says, "And that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece." The portion of Asia that where Greece sits was full of brown-skinned people. And they show history from a time point as if the so-called white man was always there, and that is a lie. The so-called white man is from the deserts of Petra, which is just below the land of Israel. And I'm going to show you some of the receipts on that. He's from Jordan. All right. He lived in the mountains and the caves in Jordan, out of the sun, because he really couldn't come out in the sun too much. All right. So let me go to the evidence folder. And here we go. We'll start here. And you can go and find this episode and watch it. Okay? You would think, looking at those, that you were in Greece or Rome. But that's actually near Petra in Jordan, the original home of Esau Edom, the so-called white man. That's the door. He still builds his structures and his buildings this way to this day. All right. This look like the gray stones, the brown stones in Chicago, New York. All right, like the museums in different places around. They built them right into the rock, and there are even eagles perched up on it. So that's in scripture. Okay, that's looking at it from another angle. And these are those relics up close. These are Edomites. This is the so-called white man, and his original mountain home was Petra. So not the Caucasus mountain. So that's a lie. They sliced up Asia, called a portion of it Europe, and then lied and said that is where they were from. All right. There's two more relics from that series of receipts. All right. Edomites, who became Grecians, who became Romans, and I just read about it. And all of it was through Alexander, and that was a temple, you see, with all their false gods. So that is where the Edomites, the so-called white man, is really from. The mountains of Georgia, Petra. Okay? And yes, the so-called northern kingdom, by the way, let me go back to the scripture, is also from Asia, because guess what? Israel is in Asia, Western Asia. Now that I said it, I'll go back to the scripture, but let's produce the receipt. Let's go to Lenore Burson's book. All right, Dr. Lenore Burson, when she wrote the book, The Negroes and the Jews. All right. And when she wrote right there, the Negroes' claim to be Jewish is legitimate. All right. The land of Israel is located in where? Western Asia and the borders on North Africa. All the native inhabitants of the region were non-white when Spain expelled its Jays in 1492 and the Moors. See, because who was ruling? So-called black men that looked like the one on that screen. That's who was ruling. The Moors and the Jays, who were the same people, Israelites. The Moors and who are also called Morenos, all right, who were later called crypto Jews, Sephardim. They were so-called black people. All right. Okay. When you get down here, it says the spirituals. Says some of them were brought later to America as slaves. The spirituals, they never sing of African rivers. It always sings of the Jordan or the Red Sea. They don't sing about African chiefs or kings like the one on the screen there on the left side. It's David or Moses or some other Jayish character from the Bible. And the prophets of the Lord were not Jayish, they were Israelites. All right, Jayish were the Edomites that converted under John Hyrcanus of the Hasmonean dynasty. All right, that's where the Jayish comes from, your J-double-O's. So back to the scripture. It says, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. And we're talking about throughout the portion of Asia that they call Europe. He went throughout there, slaying and killing and taking all those people over. Also, in the lower part of Western Asia that they call the Middle East. And he went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, and so much the earth was quiet before him, and whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him, and they were lightening them up all along, because a lot of rape was going on, as they were conquering. Then into racial marriages and stuff. All right, so the scale and the people began to change because so-called Arabs were really dark. Back then they were just as dark as this brother on the screen, or some stumps still are. Okay, and even darker. But it says, and after these things he fell sick and perceived he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. That was the 4 generals. You can read about them. All right, which was Cassander, Ptolemy, Seleucus, And I always forget the fourth one. But nevertheless, that's easy history for you just to go look up. All right. And it says, and Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bare rule everyone in his place, because the same servants killed Alexander's son to make sure he wouldn't raise up to become the new king. All right. And these Edomites have been fighting each other ever since. And everyone else. But it says, and the servants bear rule everyone in his place, and after his death they all put crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Evils were multiplied in the earth when the so-called white man came into power through Alexander, and then they began to declare themselves royals, and before that they were nothing. This is why they reverence Alexander the Great so much, because through him Esau Edom, the self-professed, self-proclaimed white man, came into power first. All right, then they created this whole white superiority doctrine, which is completely and utterly annihilated by this dig, by this find that sits on the screen. And I have probably about 7 or 8 books that have images like this that predate the white pharaohs and stuff like that. But yet they ignore them, because the pharaohs look like this when Israel came into among the Egyptians and went in 70 people and became millions. So who do you think those Israelite men were impregnating and making their own? This is also how you know that your line is through the man and not the woman. All right. They went in there 70 people, and by the time they served slavery and came out, they left out millions from among the men, his people on this statue. Yeah, so the Israelites were very dark. All right, and often, remember, the Lord and Moses, the Lord's parents, also hid among the Egyptians. All right, the mountains, when he said, flee ye to the mountains when a Roman come, the mountains are right there going west toward Africa. Okay? Those are the mountains that they fled to. So Esau Edom is a liar, man. And now Trump, he's outright declaring martial law here in America against Jake. It started with the Northern Kingdom, just as we said. They're building more, the centers where the deportation centers. They're turning prisons into deportation centers. This is what they're doing. I'm trying to find this video that my beloved April O'Neil sent me. Shalom to you, beloved. Well, here's one. Definitely plan on playing that one. I was going to play that one. I'm hunting for the next one. And maybe I'll play this one too and fit it in. But I'm going to start with this one, because this is what America has been for Jacob here. And Trump is making sure that it stays this way. All right. Jake is suffering, and now Esau is suffering. And Trump has this belief that he can make America, he can bring it back to Leave It to Beaver times. And that's not going to happen. All this outright racism toward Jake, first the Northern Kingdom, now the Southern Kingdom. Jacob's trouble has begun, and it's only going to continue to get worse. And as America's former allies and other nations are gathering together to fight against America, 2nd Ezra 15 and 16 are here. They really are here. But I'm going to play this poem. It's about almost 2 minutes long. But let this brother, what he said, just listen.
To America, where we work to live and live to work, where we spend hundreds of thousands on a home that we barely get to step foot in because the hours we work to pay for it keeps us away from it. Where we buy a car just to drive it to a job that barely pays enough to keep the gas tank full. Where our healthcare system will bankrupt you faster than the illness can kill you. We're getting sick is the business motto, and the cure is priced like a luxury. Welcome to America, where the food is fake, The water's tainted, and the air we breathe is up for sale. We're the richest 1% own more than the bottom half combined, and they still tell us to work harder.
Damn.
Where we chase the American dream only to find out it was designed to stay out of reach. And every time we get close to the finish line, they just inch it a little further back. Where school doesn't teach you how to live, just how to obey, comply, and clock in. Where education comes with a lifetime of debt, and the diploma is nothing more than a receipt for money that you ain't never gonna see again.
Damn.
Welcome to America, where we pay taxes to keep the lights on in government buildings we ain't never even allowed to enter. Where your rights are written in pencil and erased when it's inconvenient. Where justice depends on your income and the law bends to the highest bidder. Welcome to America, where they tell you if you don't like it, then leave, without realizing we had ties to this land before there was even an America, where your labor is valued, but your life is disposable. Welcome to America, where mental health is a crisis, but therapy is a luxury that most can't even afford, where they sell you fast fashion, fast food, and the fast entertainment to keep you distracted from the slow theft of your soul and your spirit, where the news is scripted, the truth is filtered, and history is rewritten to protect the guilty. Welcome to America, where the people who run this country don't live like the people who keep it running. Welcome to America, where survival is success, where we've been trained to call this living, but in reality we barely breathing. Welcome to America. Welcome to America.
And America actually means bitter. All right, that's what the word America means. It means bitter, and this has been very bitter to Jacob. All right, and it's just getting worse. Let me grab a couple scriptures. This is Psalms 35. A lot of scriptures and Psalms I want to bring out today. And 19. And it says, let not them that are my enemies wrongfully rejoice over me, neither let them wink with the eye that hate me without cause. See, Trump and his people hate us without cause. I did a lesson the other day, about all the over 200 so-called black settlements, cities and towns that were either raised to the ground or flooded out. They would use dams and stuff to release rivers to flood out towns over hatred and jealousy, and then take that land, take all the wealth, the houses, the homes, the bank accounts, the businesses, et cetera, et cetera. And the government and the local government all was in on it, because they allowed it to happen. And it was orchestrated, clearly orchestrated. And now they're showing you that same hatred again. It's in Psalms 59 and 2. And it reads, deliver me from the workers of iniquity and save me from the bloody men. Because Esau is about to, and it's going to start in D.C., especially when crime is down. And that's another thing, too. There's been a lot of horrendous and heinous crimes committed by whites all across America that is being downplayed. All right. And all they're showing you is, when they find something, they can't wait for Jake to do something stupid, especially you YNs. You YNs are your own worst enemies, because you're constantly doing something dumb that they can use against the whole race. All right, but that's okay. Esau's getting ready to send them soldiers on your ass. It's actually about to happen. Okay? And only the elect are going to live through what's about to happen. And at the same time he's doing this, he's defunding so many things when it comes to education, dealing with Jacob. All right. And once again, like I said in the earlier part of the video, he wants to take control over the Smithsonian and actually hide relics like this one. This relic will be gathered up and it's going to get put in the basement inside of a crate in the bottom of the Smithsonian or some museum, and it'll never be seen. All right. And it's probably worth, who knows, somebody's going to make somebody rich, and they're going to box it up and put it in the crate, and it won't be seen. It'll be food, because there was a tomb opened about 5 years ago, and it was nothing but images like this, proving that too. And like you said, they're like the death adder. When you bring up and you show receipts and show evidences of truth, they clog up their ears like and la la la, like some little bratty little girl that don't, when you try to tell her something, she don't want to hear it. That's how they act. But let me pull up this next video that I've been sitting on. Now, this brother here, this young brother here, Devon Tatum. This looks like this came off TikTok, and his name is "This is Insane. Slavery is as old as time." Okay.
It's insane. Slavery is as old as time, and it's taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? Before you judge, you must ask yourself, what did the culture and society at the time treat as no big deal? This is what erasing history looks like. This is what it looks like. In plain sight, what it looks like to erase and rewrite history. And why are they acting as if there were only two possible options, two possible outcomes, either be killed or be taken captive? What about the third option? Leave people alone. Stop colonizing. What about that option? But instead, they're trying to normalize and cause you to become desensitized to slavery. They are doing it on purpose. It's deliberate. Understand, reparations still have not been paid. We still have people who make mockeries of 400 years of chattel slavery in this country. And now they're trying to teach kids that it's okay, that it's not so bad. This is insane. Pair this with the fact they now want to go through the Smithsonian exhibits and make sure that history aligns with the president's view of history.
And he just showed you the president's view of history. All right, that was the president's view of history. Okay, and that's exactly what they're trying to do, to get rid of the evidences so that they could elevate and keep, because the truth in history and the relics, just like this one, destroy white superiority, completely annihilate Darwinism, completely annihilate Johan Blumenbach, and it just completely destroys all of that. It destroys the Hametic theory and all the lies that were created for for white, so-called white superiority. So let's play this video.
Ladies and gentlemen, now this is gonna upset a lot of people for a long.
Oh, before I play it, since he is a comedian and all that stuff, let me go to the receipts and read the disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer, section 107. Copyright disclaimer, section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringed. I imagine they're going to eventually attack this too. Because if they can do away with this, then people can't, do what I'm doing right now. All right. So, Trump is really trying to cross all the T's and dot all the I's. He wants to destroy the evidence, burn it as he sends you off, as he railroads you to prison without cause under false charges. And he wants to eliminate everyone and everything that can prove your innocence. He wants to destroy it. And that's what they're trying to do.
Time there has been a small, delusional group of people who always said the Egyptians were not black people. And when we say Egyptians, we ain't talking about the ones that's there now. We talking about way back, ancient Kemet Egyptians.
Yeah, I have a video right now of an Ishmaelite woman that's in Egypt who did her DNA, and it said that she was European. Now remember though, Europe sits in Asia, all right? But nevertheless, it's telling that she's not Egyptian at all. But we know that because this is the Egyptian. And once Egypt fell, after the Israelites left, Egypt fell, and Ishmael, the Arab nations have completely driven Ishmael out of his Ham, out of his, all these Hametic people that used to be in Egypt, they all got driven down south into the sub-Saharan past it, South African, places like that. And then the Egyptians were known for their height. So them big, tall, the Watutsi, and I believe, the Watutsi and those guys, them guys that be hopping up and down, the Manuk Bowls people, those were your ancient Egyptians. You know, they're all over 7 feet tall. You know, they're very tall. Okay.
They like to erase the part that says, hey, you know, they migrated from Ethiopia and all that. But we're not even gonna get into that. So they was digging, messed around and came up on an Egyptian head that is intact. Now I'm looking at it. This is a head of an ancient pharaoh. I'm looking at it. Now, I'm not going to say he was black. But I will say I got a cousin that looked just like his ass. And if you're like me, when you saw the head, you started to hone in on them lips.
Hence the reason why they always knock off the lips and the noses. You know, even the Sphinx, you can clearly see. I got a receipt. Thinking about that woman with her, the Lord is amazing, because I click right to it. You can clearly see the Hametic features on the Sphinx. All right, in comparison to the Ishmaelite people that are in Egypt now. So even blasting the nose and the lips off of it didn't hide the fact of that these people in Egypt now, these Egyptians, are not the ancient Egyptians during the time of the Israelites, during the time that David slayed Goliath. All right. And Hamites, are not the most attractive people collectively. All right. They're not. But there you go.
Natural human thing. That is a natural human thing. You know, when somebody, the two most looked at parts of your face, eyes and lips.
Well, then he goes off into it because, anyway, everything he says is just him trying to do his comedian thing and be funny. But he brought up a very important point. All right. And let me just get a scripture. Because Esau's up to his old tricks. There's nothing new under the sun. He's done this long time ago. And he's done it ever since he got back into power. All right. I'm going to Maccabees. First Maccabees 3:48. I think I'll start at about 46. I started 45 just to get a little more context. All right, because Jerusalem had been trodden down, and as it's trodden down now. Like you said, it will be trodden down to the Gentiles in the end days. All right, so these Gentiles are in there calling themselves, whatever. But that's Bible prophecy. Okay, but First Maccabees 3:45, it says, "Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept a stronghold. The heathen had their habitation in the place. The joy was taken from Jacob." All right. "And the pipe with the harp ceased." No more music. Jake loved music. We be very musical people. "Wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together and came to Mizpah over against Jerusalem. For in Mizpah was a place where they prayed aforetime in Israel." Just like how the Lord said the people he knew aforetime, roughly paraphrased. "Then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their heads and rent their clothes. And they laid open the book of the law wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images." So Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, has been putting his image up, claiming to be the people of the Lord ever since. All right. What do you think Christianity, all the imagery of Christianity is of Esau whitewashing the history of the Bible, the history of the Israelites, because the Israelites came to be a people, all right, among this ancient king's people, all right, until they were driven out So the Israelite men were impregnated women from, until they had enough to, until they tribes got big enough to where they could pick wives from among the other tribes and things of that nature. All right? Because they went in at 70 souls and they left out millions. Right? They left out millions. And then from there, they got scattered to the four corners of the earth. And a huge portion of them were brought to the Americas and to the islands to serve slavery. And that is biblical, historically on point. Chattel slavery matches up with Bible prophecy about the Israelites and no other people. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Quadas, Kwam, Yasharala, Abad, Babal.